Okay, so hello. Um, so we are going to talk about pathways to entrepreneurial ventures, and this is our last topic for the term. Okay. We will be outlining 6 common and diverse ways you can start your own business. So each path has its own unique advantages and things to consider, and we'll cover them all to help you navigate your own entrepreneurial journey. So, ito yung mga ways kung paano ka magsisimula na mag-start na o magsisimula ng isang business. So, first off, is bootstrapping. So, bootstrapping, uh, what's bootstrapping? So, it is all about starting a venture with minimal or no external funding. Instead of seeking traditional financing, you rely on creative ways to acquire resources, often using your personal network and building trust to get started. So, you don't have money, pero siguro kukuha ka ng potential investors, bootstrapping yun, no? Um, Often from your personal network, sabi, anong personal network, maybe from your friends, from your family, and building trust to get started. So the key principles of bootstrapping are to focus on cash flow, create products that can break even quickly, and carefully manage growth to avoid overexpanding before you're ready. It's a resourceful approach that emphasizes self-sufficiency and smart financial management from day one. So, dapat ang mga products mo dito or yung business mo is madaling i-start, hindi masyadong malaki, no? And kumbaga madaling mag-ROI. Madaling pumaldo in your terms as Gen Z. Okay? So, it emphasizes on self-sufficiency and smart financial management from day one. So, talagang dapat magtipid ka, ganun, talagang careful ang iyong decision making kasi nga, nagtiwala sa'yo yung mga investors nagtiwala sa'yo yung mga ibang tao na binigyan ka ng puhunan. Pero syempre, yan ay may kapalit, 'di ba? Dapat kikita din sila. Parang gano'n, okay? So, moving on to minipreneurship, which is niche. It's like yeah, niche mastery. So next we have minipreneurship. This pathway is centered on creating trading goods or services online using low-cost platforms to tap into niche markets. Take note, creating and trading goods or services online na cheap or hindi masyadong mahal yung startup and yung kaya mo on your own. And you will be using low-cost platforms to tap into niche markets. So the main drivers for minipreneurship are the desire for independence and access to global resources. It's a great way to aggregate small, specific niche markets that might not be viable in a traditional business model. Common activities include trading on platforms like eBay, creating online stores, blogging or offering freelance and consulting services. So, minipreneurship yun. Kumbaga, mag-focus ka lang on your own set of skills. Tapos, yun na yung pagkakakitaan mo. Kung service ka, mag-render ka ng services mo online. Like, let's say, for example, for me, um, I had experiences in ESL or English as second language since 2011. So, actually, nasubukan ko ito noon. So, hindi na ako nag-hire or hindi na ako nagwo-work for for a company kasi syempre mas mababa yung rate. So, naghanap ako ng direct clients ko. And I remember that was way back in 2014. I earned already nine to $10 an hour teaching IELTS to Chinese students. However, I do not know bakit hindi ko itinuloy. Sayang nga eh. Maybe because uh, I don't have additional funding or what, but and I shifted, no, nag-shift ako ng ibang focus. Sabi ko parang walang growth. So kaya ayun, nag-enroll ako ng 18 units sa teaching. Parang gusto kong magturo sa classroom. Tapos napabayaan ko na yung mga clients or hindi naman napabayaan, but syempre ah, natapos ko yung kontrata namin pero hindi ko na sila nabalikan. So sayang din. But that is one example of minipreneurship. So it's like niche mastery. So ang niche ko ay IELTS, online IELTS coach ang aking niche, and I am catering to college students who would like to, no, actually incoming college students who would like to study abroad, and they have to meet the requirement of their IELTS. So, yun yung example ng minipreneurship. Okay? Other examples, of course, yun, yung mga TikTok shop, TikTok sellers, Shopee sellers, ayan. So, they use low-cost platforms to tap into niche markets. Okay? So, moving on to classical pathway, the new venture creation. So, the classical pathway is what most people think of when they imagine entrepreneurship, starting a new business from the ground up. This often involves introducing an innovation that can disrupt the market. So this pathway can be broken down into two approaches. First is the new approach, which is about creating completely unique products or services that don't currently exist, such as Facebook or smartphones. So talagang completely unique products na wala pang ganun, hindi pa siya existing. Whereas for the new old approach, which is a more common strategy, you just have to improve an existing product or offer proven services in a new way. Which is a great example of this is adding a cafe inside a bookstore. So that's an example. New old approach. So syempre may konsepto na ng cafe. Oh my God. Ayan, pardon dun sa ingay. Okay. So, ayun. Asa na ba tayo? New old approach again, it's like improving or improving an existing product or service. So just like that, a concept wherein a cafe inside a bookstore is a good one, right? I think I just want to share. So sa SLU, I think meron ng cafeteria sa mismong loob ng library nila. And they would like to create a conducive learning environment for the students. That's why they did that. So, syempre, kumikita din yung coffee shop, ba? Okay? Next one is, uh, ayan, acquiring an established venture. So, another option, okay, is to skip the startup phase and go directly to acquiring an established venture. This path has some significant advantages over starting from scratch. Siyempre, medyo mas may advantage kasi nga, bibili ka na ng existing venture. One example dito yung movie natin na pinanood, 'di ba? Ano na yun? Enoteca Maria. So, binili niya although nag-close naman na kasi. So, no, that's not an example pala, sorry. Kasi nagbago siya ng brand or nagbago siya ng business model. So, kung kinuha niya yung existing business, niretain niya, baka that's one example of acquiring an established venture. Bakit may advantage? Because there's less risk with a proven track record. Mas mababa yung risk kasi nga kumbaga nasa market na siya existing na siya. And then reduced time and effort due to existing operations. Dahil nga ganun, dahil existing na siya, So, meron ng set of standard operating procedures na pwedeng nag-work or maybe you can just improve. Pero at least, hindi ka na magbabalik from scratch and potential for a bargain purchase. Yun. So, ah, bargain, parang tatawad. There's a potential na mapababa mo pa yung selling price. But you need to also have due diligence, no? It's very critical. Like before you buy, you need to verify the seller's reasons for selling, assess the condition of the assets, and analyze financial records and contracts. It's also crucial to ensure key employees are willing to stay on after the transition. Yun yung problema, no? Kasi ang mahirap kapag binili mo bagong management, may mga ibang empleyado na kapag, ay, bago na yung boss, parang maninibago ako, baka hindi kami magkasundo or what. Or nandun pa rin yung loyalty nila dun sa previous boss. Kaya medyo mahihirapan kang mahihirapan ka sa transition. So, see to it na yung mga employees ay, you know, mag-i-stay sa'yo. Also, you also have to know bakit nga ba binebenta yung business kung talagang kumikita siya ng malaki, bakit ibebenta or whatsoever. Or maybe there are some other personal reasons yung ano. So, okay lang naman yon kung personal reasons. Pero basta tingnan mong mabuti, alamin mo yung history, alamin mong mabuti bakit niya ibinebenta. Diba kapag bumibili kayo ng item online, RFS, reason for selling ng mga gadget. Kunwari, mag-upgrade ng phone, parang ganun. So, yun yung alamin mo. And you also have to assess yun nga, condition ng asset. Baka mamaya dilapidated na yung pwesto. Ano ba yung mga certain renovations or machineries na kailangan na bago? Baka kasi yung mga equipment nila is, hindi na siya okay or hazardous na siya. So, ikaw ba masisira kapag hindi mo nalaman yun, 'di ba? At least kapag may nakitaan kang mga flaws, ganun, baka pwede kang mag-bargain. Meron palang medyo luma na yung ganito ganyan, bawasan mo na yung presyo, parang ganun, 'di ba? So, again, you need to practice due diligence, okay? So, that's it. Yun yung mga kailangan mong tignan when buying an existing business. Moving on to franchising, very easy yung franchise. Franchising offers a unique blend of independence and support. In this model, the franchisee or the franchisee, license a trademark or trade name from a franchisor to sell their goods and services. So, how it works is you pay fees to the franchisor in exchange for their brand, established system, training, and an ongoing support. May franchise fee, syempre. This gives you the power of a recognized brand without having to build it yourself. The main disadvantages, though, are the fees and the lack of full control over the business. You also have to be aware of the risk that a franchisor might not fulfill all their promises. Ayun na. So, for example, nag-franchise ka ng Master Siomai, Master Siomai na food cart, gano'n. So, magbabayad ka kay Master Siomai in exchange ng yung food stall or yung food cart, yung uniforms, and maybe 2 months worth of products or this may certain amount of products na ibibigay. Also, they will be training you and the employee. But of course, you cannot do anything that you want. Malay mo, for example, si Master Siomai, no, nasa strict rule yan na, bawal kang magdagdag ng ibang item. Dapat ang ibebenta mo lang strictly Master Siomai. Hindi ka pwedeng magdagdag ng homemade, homemade shawarma, ayan. So, hindi pa pwede yon kasi siyempre kasama yon sa agreement nyo. So, kaya nga sabi dito, lack of full control. Okay? And also, yeah, franchisor control, meron pa rin control siya over you. And of course, the franchisor might not fulfill all of its promises. So that's the risk. Okay? Lalo na kapag wala naman, hindi naman nakasaad sa terms and conditions niyo or sa contract mo. Moving on. Moving on to our last slide. So social venturing, impact-driven business. So finally, we have social venturing. This is about creating an enterprise that uses a business model to achieve a specific social, environmental, or cultural goals. The goal is to achieve a double or triple bottom line, focusing on more than just profit. So, uh, it has three different models for social venturing. Triple bottom line. Ano ulit yung triple bottom line? People, planet, and profit. So, yun yung gusto niyang ma-achieve. So, merong different models. First is the entrepreneurial support, which involves selling services directly to a target population, such as providing micro loans. Ayan, bibigay daw ng support sa entrepreneur. Next, you can also be a market intermediary model where you buy products from disadvantaged producers and sell them to external markets. So, for example, dehado yung mga farmers natin sa Benguet, ganon. Kasi nga, maraming nabubulok, tapos pinapamigay na lang. So, you can also act as a market intermediary, wherein ikaw, magiging middleman ka, bibilin mo yun na mga nasasayang na mga vegetables and ibebenta mo siguro sa ibang lugar. That is a market intermediary. Next one is employment model, which focuses on employing a target population and then selling the products or services they create. Employment model. So, one example dito, so nagkaroon kami ng outing noon sa MBA when I was in University of Pangasinan. So, nagkaroon kami ng outing. We also, social entrepreneurs, something like that. And pumunta kami sa Bulacan to visit yung Gawad Kalinga. So, yung Gawad Kalinga, it's like social entrepreneur organization. And then they are helping, it's like an organization of social entrepreneurs. Ayan. So, one of the, one of the businesses doon, yung yung isang stuffed toy. Hold on. Hold on lang. Ayun. I googled it in a bit, or in a second. So, I found out that the name was Plush and Play. So, Plush and Play was founded noon pa eh. Kasi parang 2014 pa kami nakapunta doon sa Bulacan. Um, so, it's a social enterprise. And then, they hired local women or local mothers and titas in Bulacan to hand sew some plush toys. Medyo pricey nga lang siya, pero it's like part of the profit there will be going to them. So ganito 'yon. Nag-hire sila ng mga taga Bulacan na siguro wala sigurong work or what, or kumuha sila ng mga local women na mga taga doon, like mga nanay and mga women na parang aged 30 and above na marunong magtahi, and then handmade yung kanilang stuffed toy na ginagawa. From there, ang sabi, they are not only being paid through salary, but they also have a share in the profit. So, kada bibili ka nung plush toy, kumikita din sila, not only dun sa salary, no? So, yun yung employment model. Probably I would post an article about Plush and Play so that you will know more about them. like a video or something so that maging aware kayo sa mga social enterprise. You can also search more din sa Gawad Kalinga in Bulacan because it's not only Plush and Play yung mga ano, sabi ko nga, it's like an organization of social enterprise, social entrepreneurs. Okay, so that's it. So these are the 6 pathways to entrepreneurial ventures. Uh, if you have any questions, alam nyo na, you may ask in class na lang. Okay? So, see you around.